Well, welcome. Here we are, Fireside Chat. Maybe not a huge audience, but we definitely have a few people willing to get in the same room, and hopefully that is just going to be a growing thing. We can get things back to normal. In case you didn't see, these new devices, in case you're not familiar with them, maybe you've experienced a balance problem in the past yourself. Well, I did yesterday in the gym. And what happened was I was doing some exercises, lost my balance, went backwards, tried to arrest myself with my right leg, and completely tore my quad tendon and tore my meniscus. So I'll get a little surgery here pretty soon and be on crutches for the foreseeable future. So I really like those buttons you push that open the doors. Now I appreciate this stuff, right? Well, it's great to be here in person, even if the audience is a little bit small. But I'm a little bit nervous that we're so used to Zoom, right? And I'm afraid that for you that are here are going to be, it's a shock. You're not used to being in person. So I want to make this. I want to ease into the transition of in person. So,
Mike, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. You're on mute. It's the icon on the bottom left. You have to click on it and then.
Oh, thanks. I always forget to unmute myself. Darn. Okay, well, hopefully you folks are getting used to it already, being in person. We're excited to be doing it and get back to seeing each other eye to eye, being able to meet with one another. I think one of the big disadvantages we've had in communication through the organization is not being able to see each other, be able to talk to each other, see expressions on people's faces. You just can't capture in the same way on Zoom. Zoom has been wonderful. Glad we had the technical capability to do it. Glad that residents were able to dive into that and learn how to do it. But there is no substitute for being in person. So we'll cross our fingers that this is a growing trend and we'll have a larger audience over time. Okay, so next slide here. I want to talk a little bit about some kind of tough stuff that we're dealing with organizationally and even around the country. And that is the nationwide staffing challenges. This is true. The demand for staff in general is increasing in our industry because we have more people who are becoming seniors and moving into communities. So the demand for staffing is going up as boomers age, and there are fewer workers, service workers in general, and even fewer coming into our industry. And that is in part because of some of the challenges in our industry, some of which can be overcome with wage increases. We just negotiated our union contract yesterday with a great team of people, Lori and Brenda and Christy and others who were able to negotiate a good contract that increased wages between 9% and 24% for our staff. And that doesn't mean that is all we'll do. We just don't want to have the union be the driver of it exclusively. We want to make sure that we have the flexibility to increase wages as we need to. But in general, there are fewer people coming into this industry because it's hard work. And you all know that and appreciate that. New generations of staff, aren't as familiar with the fact that it can be a great place to work. So we got some challenges there. Immigration rules don't help. The reality is there are certain ethnicities that are more inclined to be care-oriented, and if immigration policies are restrictive, then we do not have the available pool, and we're competing with more organizations like ours to get that labor. There's also a higher expectation among the boomer generation. We see that incrementally. There's just a natural expectation of that generation. I'm in that generation at the different end of it, but we grew up expecting more. It's not that we're bad people or that we don't care. It's just we have grown up with greater expectations. That puts more pressure on staff to meet those needs, which makes it a challenging environment to work in. Even though we're going to do work on wages, and we're very proud of that, we will be a leader in wages here, so that's not going to be our impediment, but that may not be sufficient to resolve the staffing issues that we face. So we have to have strategies that go beyond just compensation. And when we talk about that, one key thing is we have to play a more important role in the lives of our staff. That means that we help them navigate challenging issues that relate to healthcare, to injury, to legal issues, to career issues, and that we probably will pay more to our staff for education and for things that will help them feel that being here for whatever that slice of time is going to be a valuable one. So we will commit more to our human resources to have the people who can spend with our staff, to have them know that this is going to be a place where we will add value to you, even if you are not here for a long time. We also have to do a better job of discerning between technology and labor. Where do people add value to an outcome versus where does technology add value? And this is a tough thing, and it's a frustrating thing for residents because, and I faced this last night trying to get my stupid TV to work and couldn't get the Comcast to do what it was supposed to do, is that, we all have that apprehension to technology. And we really rather have somebody give us a piece of paper. It's just plain easier. So why bother me with that other junk? Well, sometimes the effort to work in paper requires more people. And it's not that we don't love our people. It's just that we're going to have to allocate to where people add the most value. And the most value is in those places where technology cannot solve a problem, like care, like those things that don't require, a keyboard. So balancing that out. So as you see technology evolve, it's not because we're mean-spirited, hateful people. It is we are trying to figure out the balance between a lower labor model because we're afraid we can't get the labor, and technology that can help solve some problems that labor used to solve. So we need your patience and your help on that. And it's not easy, but we're in this together with you. Then there's going to be times when you outsource stuff that you can't do internally. If we cannot get the resources to solve a particular problem, we have to look to those that have a better capability of doing the service. And it's not like there's anything that is immediately on the table because there's not something that you can outsource very easily. But we've had a challenge getting housekeepers. And I can foresee that if we can't get housekeepers to do the work of residents in cleaning their apartments, that may be something that we have to find a stronger player who can do it. Not because that's our preference, but because that may be our only choice. So it's those kinds of things. And then in general, designing a lower labor intensive model. A good example of that is, as you will see in the fall when we start talking about master planning and we talk about the details of how the dining and the restaurant program will go. Part of the design is to reduce the labor required to deliver the service. Doesn't mean you have to suffer on quality, doesn't mean you aren't going to have people involved. It just means you organize things in ways that don't require the same number of people. We have a very high labor model of dining, and we need to evolve to something that gives us the quality and doesn't necessarily have the same amount of people to deliver. And we're thinking that through as to what that means, and our partners at Morrison are all over this. They see it all over the country. So you'll be seeing that as well. So we are evolving as an institution, as a community, as a business, as an industry to a different way of being. And I don't think we're going to be quickly reverting back to some old days. So hopefully that is something that we can all work with and walk together on. And, sometimes we go too far. We got to do a little backup. That's okay. That's how we get there. So the thing is, what can you do? So, first of all, we want to make this a place, and I think we have made it a place. And as residents, you're extremely generous and you are very kind to our workers, and we want to keep that up. We want, you, when appropriate, to acknowledge the good work when it occurs, so that people feel like they are rewarded psychically, emotionally for the work that they do. And this, I really believe in this point, and that is assume good intent. We make mistakes. We screw something up. There may be lots of complexities around why that happened. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that it is with good intent we try to do something, not because we don't care or that we're sloppy. Sometimes things are complicated. Sometimes people are new. Training wasn't quite there. But our intent is good. And if you enter into a conversation with staff about something that didn't go well, presume good intent. Presume that they were trying to do the right thing rather than coming all over them in a way that makes them feel worse about the thing that already makes them feel bad. And that means being kind too. And the vast majority, the 97% of our residents are very kind and very thoughtful to our staff. And then there are those times when some are not. And it often happens at the front desk because that's a focal point. And we've had a number of cases, and maybe this is COVID related, where people have been just, tied up in their apartments and they just are frustrated. And when there's an issue, they just unload on the staff at the front desk. And it's not that the problem that you are bringing to the table isn't a legitimate one. It's all about how it gets done. And if you feel like you can't resolve something in a way with the front desk, hold back the anger and the emotion and talk with Lori, Laura, me. We're the ones who need to take the brunt of that and to experience your frustration in a way that allows you to vent and then get on to a solution. If it's the front desk that hears it, the staff there, it just really brings them down. And that then leads to the feeling of, well, gosh, do I want to work in an environment where I just get beat up? And again, it's a small percentage. And I don't even say that it's bad people. It's simply we're all frustrated and some find this way to take it out. And if you witness your colleagues, your peers who aren't behaving as they should, gently remind them. It's okay to bring up the issue, bring it up to the people who can solve it, try to be kind to our staff. I hope that makes sense and resonates with folks. Okay, we have a big agenda today, we do every single month. It amazes me we can come up with as many things as we do. And it's not because we're trying really hard. They're just here. There are things to talk about. So next up is George to talk a little bit about the never-ending challenges of COVID, and he'll give us some updates on what we're facing now as I hobble off stage.
Thanks very much, Mike. Hello. This is different. Different feeling. What I'd like to do is go through the rationale, the reasons that led to us to make the decision to return to full mask use. You need to be very clear why we did this. The first reason is the unprecedented amount of publicity that's around hitting all of us. All the networks have their pundits, the government and non-government spokespeople, the pharmaceutical industries are speaking. So all of us are just overwhelmed by this news. And it just highlights the crucial importance of this pandemic. Even some of the pundits, I even know some of them. Can you hear that better? Yeah. I even know some of the pundits who are speaking, and each person is well-intended. But for that reason, I felt we need to seriously think about doing something. The second reason is the Delta variant and all that means to the future of the pandemic. All the breakthrough infections that we hear about. Let me just say that breakthrough infections is a misnomer. You remember when the vaccines were being introduced, they talked about how effective they were. Some were 90% effective, some were 80%, some were 70%. All these vaccines, as they came available, they talked about how effective were they. So none of them was 100%. That's just not the way vaccines work. So that meant that for every vaccine, there are going to be some people who got the vaccine who are going to be infected. So it's not a breakthrough, it's just a part of how vaccines work. What vaccines do is to prevent people from getting sick and dying, and all the vaccines did that. But it is of concern that because the Delta variant appears to be different in that once someone encounters it, it appears to have the capacity for placing a lot of virus in the nose and throat compared to the other variants and compared to other virus. And it's perhaps this amount of virus that can overwhelm the system and may be the reason that it causes more severe infections. So if you look at infections among fully vaccinated persons, the rate is about 0.01%. That doesn't seem very big, but if you stretch that out over 160 million people, that is a lot of people. If you look at those who got sick and died following their fully vaccinated persons who got sick and died, the thing to remember is that one, the ones who are getting sick and dying are the ones who are elderly folks like us. 75% of them are our age and up. So that's the importance of the Delta variant. A third reason are the rising rates in King County. The CDC defines a surge as greater than 50 per 100,000 cases, greater than 50 cases per 100,000. Here in King County, we had gotten down to around 20 or so cases per 100,000. But over the past couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we have seen the rate in King County steadily going up until today it is actually 57 per 100,000. So we are well qualified as being experienced a surge. The fourth reason is that the state and local people, the governor as well as Jeff Dushan from the King County Public Health, as well as the leaders of CDC, they're all saying the same thing. We should be returning to masks. The fifth reason is slightly different, but just as important. Mike was talking about meeting staffing possibilities. We're starting to see a rise in the number of non-COVID upper respiratory infections. Recall that throughout the years of COVID, rates of influenza were way down because of all the masking. Well, those increasing numbers of non-COVID upper respiratory infections affects our ability to be able to maintain our staff. So for those 5 reasons, it seemed prudent, and it really was not a hard decision for the task force to make, to advise that we move back to the masked up status where we are. So that's what I wanted you to hear. One more thing. There's so much talk about boosters. Should we be getting boosters? Or the Israelis have announced that for their persons, all their persons who have been fully vaccinated, for those who have gone more than 5 months after the second shot and who are over the age of 60, they will all be vaccinated. That could well be a prudent decision. However, you must understand there are no data suggesting that that's the thing to do. No one has looked at persons who have been vaccinated, measured their antibody responses and their ability to fight off the virus, showed that it has gone down, therefore they should receive a booster. So there are no data supporting the use of boosters, despite the fact many people are suggesting that maybe we should get boosters. The pharmaceutical industry representatives, including, are saying maybe we should get boosters. But in any case, I would simply say, because there are no data, there are lots of voices, and just stay calm. There will be a recommendation. If boosters are required, the companies have them, will have them, and I hope this is comforting, despite the fact that I know that many were disappointed when we had to return to the masking. Others understood all the reasons that I've shared with you why it was a necessary move. If you have any questions or comments, get in touch with me or any member of our health advisory group, Ig Bergman, Finley Wallace, Jeff Graham. Thank you again. Next will be Jeff from Dining Services.
All right. Hello, everyone. Let's get started here. We always like to start off and kind of highlight some of our things we've done over the past month here. Bastille Day, which was a huge success for us. That was probably, in my year and a half here, that's the biggest night we've ever had. We had over 100, probably 110 people in our dining room that night. And we also served about 110, 15 meals for delivery and pickup. So well over 200 meals that night. Huge kudos to the culinary team, Chef Steve and Chef Ben. The food was fantastic. Oliver did an amazing job with the display, as you can see. And it was just a really good night. So that was a lot of fun, and look forward to more events like that in the future for us. The next thing we started doing this month is our weekend brunch. Doing a walkthrough buffet. What we've been finding when we did, we had the healthy food event, and we've had some other of our picnics moved inside, that doing this sort of procedure for dining has been very popular. So weekend brunch, 10:30 to 1:30. Come on down. We have our chefs flipping omelets order. We have a lot of good food, and staff's working hard with that. So please join us. We're seeing a good increase in our numbers on that, and we'd love to have you down for brunch. And kind of with that, we're going to be starting tonight, shifting our prime rib night to buffet style as well. In the past, I know the prime rib night was a buffet, and that was always very popular. So we're trying to get back to the things that we did in the past. So look for that tonight. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be our first night, and we'll tinker with it as the weeks go on, and we'll make it a really good experience for everyone. The last thing I want to talk about, and Mike definitely spoke on this at the beginning, is some of the industry challenges we're facing right now. The labor shortages, as Mike said, is definitely a thing we're facing right now. In terms of the staff that we have on hand, it's not that big of a problem right now. I've actually been able to hire some really good people over the last several months. Had a new girl, Eva, just start last week, and I have another gentleman named Miguel that will be starting in the next week or so. So we are doing pretty good on the staffing wise. We have a couple students returning after the summer for us. Aubrey and Akiko should be coming back, but we are going to be losing Ali. He's going to be going off to college in New York. So definitely, if you see him, I know a lot of residents have gone to enjoy him. He's been a fantastic part of our team, and we'll be definitely sad to see him go. So wish him well when you see him. But also with that is a raw material shortage, and that's kind of what is the bigger thing that we're facing right now. And labor plays into that fact as well. So, for instance, Cisco is our big vendor where we get the majority of our food from. Yesterday, they had 20 drivers call out on that. Over the last several weeks, we've had many days where their delivery just didn't show up for us. And it was supposed to come the next day and didn't come the next day. And then maybe we got it 3 days later. And that's happened consistently. Chef Steve and Chef Ben have been doing an amazing job to ensure that we do have product here that we're offering to sell on any given night. So definitely big kudos to them as well on that. Chef Steve has been making many trips to cash and carry in other stores every day to pick up product that we need to make sure we have the food available for all of you every night. When we talk with other communities within Morrison, a lot of other communities are having situations where they don't have French fries on a certain day because they couldn't get fryer oil, or they don't have salmon because their delivery didn't come in. And so definitely, Steve and Ben have been doing an amazing job to ensure that we're doing that. So if you see those two guys, give them a high five or a thank you, because they're really holding the ship together right now. We're hoping as things move on that kind of depletes and we'll get back to normal, but it's looking like it's still going to be affecting us for the next couple weeks, couple months, but hopefully not that long. So, well, that's what we got from Dining Services, and next we'll have Lori.
Yeah, your team did a wonderful job in the Wizard of Oz party.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hope you all enjoyed that.
morning.
Good morning.
Great to see all of you in person. It's wonderful. Since I've seen some of you in person, I've gotten more gray hair. But that may be because this Sunday, I have twin daughters who officially become teenagers. I'll be looking to some of you for strength. Since I saw some of you last, I'm going to be moving hopefully out of readers, and my bifocals should be coming soon. So I may be in a period of adjustment. I'm also coming through a cold, so my voice is very much off, and my apologies. As George said, and this is a great segue into a first topic, and that is flu shots. And the Washington Post just shared last week that they are seeing a surge, just as George stated, in the common cold, sore throat. Unfortunately, my daughter brought the gift home, and I acquired it from her. I did go to the doctors earlier this week, nothing bacterial. They are standardly swabbing folks for COVID. I'm negative, just want to make that very clear. But that is something we're going to have to contend with. And we are definitely working with Bartels to bring back the flu shot clinic here at Horizon House. They have committed to coming back. We do not have dates yet, but we will be sure to communicate all of that information once we have that known. I do want to put some reminders out there as we gear up for those flu shot clinics to make sure you're getting ready. Here are copies of insurance cards, Medicare cards, supplemental, and a reminder that Bartels will gladly accept those of you who have Kaiser. We'll certainly put out more information about other insurance plans. I know that Bartels is very good about taking a majority of insurance plans, but certainly if you have questions leading up to that flu clinic, you can contact the clinic and they will have information on specific insurance plans. We're going to be tracking that as we did last year, so please do let the clinic know if you have obtained your flu shot at doctor offices and appointments you may be having over the next couple of months, or if you happen to be at the pharmacy and decide to get a flu shot right there, let the clinic know, because otherwise you will hear from us. We will be hunting you down. So we really want to see good participation as we had last year. And just a reminder that in the past, we have had to shut down at the directive of King County Public Health for so many influenza cases. So that's going to be the real wild card for this next season as masks have been removed. So stay healthy. We want to continue messaging this to staff, because with those labor shortages, we absolutely need all of our staff here who are able to be here. So let's look out for each other. Mask up. If you're feeling any sniffles, sore throat, please stay in your apartments, call your primary healthcare providers, and stay safe and healthy. George mentioned the boosters. We certainly will stay in touch with that. And if there is a recommendation at a future point, we will be working with our partners, as we did in the past with the vaccines, to see what we can bring on site for those boosters. So stay tuned, and we'll certainly look to George as well to help gauge when that may be necessary if it does become so. So I want to shift gears and talk about the 2021 Resident Satisfaction Survey results. We had great participation. I think we had more people with a little more time on their hands to complete the survey this time without so many activities taking place. And we were thrilled to hear from 72% of you in independent living, and then we had 32% of those in assisted living participate. Looking at the statistics, you'll see that this was the highest participation rate from independent living residents this time around. You'll also note that in 2018 and 2017, there was no data for assisted living. That's because in those years we had a combined survey, and then in more recent years, we decided to split that so that we can really understand more clearly what are those specific opportunities that may be applicable to assisted living as well as within independent living. So the average participation, 69%. This year we did even better at 72%. So thank you to all of you who did take the time to participate. The survey method was different, as many of you know, And the vendor that we have used for the survey no longer offers paper surveys. I know that was a big change, and the technology era is here, folks. And so we probably will not ever see paper surveys again. Paper is going away. And so we appreciate that so many of you were able to complete this via email. You'll see up there, 78% of you completed it by email and 48% in assisted living. For those without email addresses, phone calls were made and surveys were offered via phone. Actual results, we'll start with the independent living. I'm not going to go through line by line. What the ratings indicate, as you see up here on the charts, is the ratings for most definitely or mostly satisfied for each of those line items. And they are in the order of most satisfied to least satisfied. So you'll see, for example, overall community satisfaction, 93.2 of you indicated being definitely or mostly satisfied. And that's wonderful. That is really, really fantastic. Because if you're satisfied with the community, you're more apt to refer the community to your friends. And that's what's so important. You are the best referral source for us. As you go on, you'll see that the mostly definitely satisfied numbers start to decrease as we move through the following slides. So for example, 70.3% of you indicated mostly definitely reception staff helpful, 69.8 indicated that managing through the pandemic was done well. And then if you go on to the next slide, Horizon House at fair value at 59.6 saying definitely mostly satisfied. Resident-led program support, for example, 54.9 of you definitely mostly satisfied. Maintenance requests done at 52.2. And on this last slide for independent, the lowest area of mostly definitely satisfied is food. That's typical, that's traditional. Food is very universal. It is the one amenity, if you will, that applies to the most of our residents. And there are 505 different preferences, different requirements, different tastes. So it is a challenge. This is a challenge we will always be wrestling with in terms of discerning how much of that is truly related to quality, how much of that is related to preferences. While one says the vegetables were cooked just right, another says the vegetables were cooked too long or not cooked enough. And you know, that's part of our reality, is trying to respond to all those different preferences. Fish was just right and moist. The next person may say the fish was a little dry. We have to pay attention to that. And what we really listen to are what are the patterns. If we see a clear pattern emerging around quality, around temperature, around textures, that's what we really manage. If we have the one-off isolated, we want to hear about those. But in terms of responding to so many different feedback pieces, the trends and patterns are what we're really after. So do keep that feedback coming. In terms of the comments, we really appreciate the comments, 174 different comments. We really get more out of the comments because it's more specific. And the highlights that really came through, again, is coming back to the patterns and themes. The bright spots, a lot of you commented on the staff. Thank you so much. The staff work hard here. And as Mike alluded to earlier, there's always good intention, and sometimes we don't always hit the mark. But the comments were wonderful about staff being excellent, helpful, friendly. There was also a lot of great comments about the COVID management, as well as the collaboration that took place between staff and the HAG. George Counts, we could not have done this without you. And of course, the other health advisory group members, the George referenced, Finley Wallace, A. Bergman, Jeff Graham, and I also want to acknowledge and remember Margaret Burke, who passed away, was an instrumental part of this as well in the earlier days of the COVID virus task force. So this is the virus task force that continues working for you and with you. Just when we think we have a little lull, as we thought we were coming into in the last week or so, not so. So we're going to keep at this as long as we need to and continue to keep all of you informed along this journey. So we're not out of the woods yet. In terms of opportunities, with the next slide here, as no surprise, food. A lot of comments about food, a lot of positive comments, as well as comments of opportunities, coming back to what I shared earlier, some comments about quality, and again, really wanting to unpack that more with what's quality versus preferences, nutrition, obviously a lot to say about sodium. That's going to be an ongoing dialogue. We have to find that right balance. There are some who prefer very little to no sodium. Some dishes have had sodium removed to only be met with concerns about it tasted too bland. So we do need to continue, though, paying very close attention to that because sodium is one that does have nutritional impact and health impact. So we need to balance that with the right type of flavor as well as managing the nutritional value. So that is one we will continue to stay close to, as well as temperatures. Part of this also, keeping in mind, this the survey really captured a majority of the time that we've been in the COVID umbrella. A lot of isolation, a lot of canceled programs, and period of time where we had dining services closed. You may remember those times came with to-go container deliveries. And so I know that's not the most appealing way to receive food, and temperature is lost. Anytime there's transport involved, temperature comes down. So it will be helpful for us when we do the next survey to understand, have we moved the needle in the right direction, and how much of this is a product of having so much delivery where quality just cannot be maintained, as in fresh to go and fresh to order right at the table service. So we'll continue staying close to that. There were comments about discrepancies between communication vehicles. This is another challenging area, and we've got more work to do because we have made available, which is a good thing, a lot of different communication channels. We've got digital signage, we've got paper signs still up, we've got HH Connect, we've got emails. And sometimes all of those various communication channels can't be all done simultaneously because there's a lot of manual work involved, especially when there's paper involved. That is our reality. When we have paper posted at elevators, multiple floors, it takes time and it takes manpower. And so as we talk again about the ongoing labor shortage and leveraging technology where we can, there is a momentum, as you've already seen, to move more and more away from paper and more away from paper signs because of the monumental manual labor that's involved in getting to all those various places around 100 million square feet in the campus. So, but we do have, that being said, we have opportunities to continue fine-tuning and ensuring consistency between all those various channels. HH370. Need I say more? Another challenging area. And so we're going to continue working at this to see what improvements and enhancements can be made around some delays, some quality, some sound. And so that's an ongoing work in progress for us. And the campus, there was a number of comments. And as I was preparing these talking points, I couldn't help but notice myself, there's a lot of wall patching that's going on right now. And I know that we are waiting for some painting. There's been some labor shortages and we've had to reprioritize staffing that's been available in terms of disinfecting versus doing some deep cleaning in certain areas. So we're definitely trying to do some catch up. And we recognize that we have some work to do on the overall quality of the campus aesthetics. Moving on to assisted living results, again, we had about 36% participation. Some of that was by residents directly and some were by family members on behalf of residents. So about a third. And overall, assisted living residents and their families indicated, again, that 83.3 definitely mostly satisfied with assisted living. Like with independent, it goes from highest satisfaction down to the lowest. So moving through there, for example, 57.1 of those 36% who responded indicated feeling safe and secure. And then as we go on, 52.6 felt that they were mostly definitely satisfied with spiritual care support. And on down, 36.8 indicated a variety of wellness activity. We didn't have a lot going on for quite a period of this time where we had even more restrictive precautions and guidance in place with the COVID being in a long-term setting. So that's understandable. And then moving on to, again, least satisfied would be the food. And, you know, again, while the satisfaction rate for overall community was high, you know, some of these scores are very concerning to us and disappointing. And so, again, we're going to certainly be diving in more deeply as we look at some next steps in just a moment as to really unpacking, is this truly how all of you are feeling? And how much of this was because of just all of the mounting frustrations with COVID. And so we're going to want to really better understand that in the coming weeks. In terms of the comments for assisted living, the bright spot, believe it or not, even though the rating was low for activities, what activities could be offered under the various changes and restrictions, residents really enjoyed them. Our life enrichment team, Rayanne and that team, really exercised amazing creativity with, yes, really amazing creativity. And we fudged a little bit here or there just to get residents engaged. You know, we had to really make some tough decisions in terms of weighing the balance between mental health and guidance. Obviously, we always exercise utmost safety and health protection. And we also look at some of those guidance with what's reasonable and how we can preserve and protect emotional and well-being and mental health. So we got creative where we could with some of those activities. Opportunities, staffing, Mike hit it well. I can tell you that we do occasionally have some staffing shortages in assisted living as well. I know that we have been reaching out to staffing agencies, and when one of our team members reached out a couple of weeks ago to a common staffing agency that supplies nurses and elder care assistants, the representative we spoke with said she has never seen the demand that is flooding them. Right now, she said in King County, this was 2 weeks ago, in King County, they had 6,000 open shift requests. And it's not going to get easier. So it is everywhere. Hospitals, in fact, some of the ERs in areas across the nation are having to divert patients to other hospitals because they don't have enough staffing. I know that there was one resident not too long ago who had an extended stay in an emergency room because they didn't have staffing. So this is a widespread issue, and it's going to call upon us more and more to look at technology wherever we can leverage technology. There are certain things that cannot be done with technology. They need the human touch and the human interaction. So that's absolutely not what we're talking about, but we have opportunities to leverage more technology so that we can preserve staff for where the human touch is critical. And also the last thing was there were some assisted living responses or comments said that there needed to be more NA options. We used the same survey in both independent and assisted. And there were some of the questions that some of the assisted living residents and family did not feel were relevant or applicable. So we'll take that into consideration the next time. In terms of next steps, what do we do from here now that we have your feedback? We certainly want to engage staff on a deeper dive into the findings, and they're a big part of this as well in working together. We want to continue collaborating with you through various resident committees on how we can move the needle, listen, learn, understand, identify actionable items, and execute and improve on those opportunities. And of course, always a feedback loop. How are we doing? Are we moving the needle? Are we showing improvement? And so we'll find opportunities. I know that food services is really great about seeking survey input, and many of you participate through the open table application. And we appreciate that because then it's more real-time feedback. And that's what's helpful is real-time feedback. Don't wait for the survey to bring forward where we are falling short. Let us know so that we can fix it in the moment, or at least think through what are some solutions. We certainly need to hear again what the patterns, but let us try to get it right in the moment for you. And food services appreciates when you let us know if your meal is not up to par. They will make every effort to make it right for you. That is all I have to share at this time. Thanks again for your participation in the survey. We really appreciate it. It looks like we've already got a question.
Roy, one of your early slides, there seemed to be something wrong because it showed overall satisfaction very high, and then would recommend this facility was low. I'm on, how can they be that far apart?
Great. So he's making the point that the overall community satisfaction is high, but the willingness to recommend was much lower. And that is part of the concern we have is trying to make sense of such a discrepancy between that, because you're right, those are the two key things, is what is your satisfaction and what is your willingness to recommend. And so that's puzzling to us. And we need to understand that because we rely on you to make the recommendation of this community to your friends, to your former colleagues. So I thank you for pointing that out. And it is something we need to look at. Any other burning questions at this time? Mask up, stay safe, stay healthy, and get geared up for flu shots. Thanks so much. And next up is going to be Brian.
Thank you, Lori. And, she said that she has gray hair now that you haven't seen her for a while. I was kind of hoping I'd get a full head of hair. However, it's not in the cards and, that's okay. So I'm trying to keep it a little closer down here. Mike told me to get a haircut, so I cleaned it up for you, Mike. So, well, I have a few updates I want to provide. And last Fireside Chat, I talked a little bit about access control and security reminders. And one of the things we're continuing to refine and make better for us is our ability to control card key and access to your apartments. And I've been working with the reception center staff, where you may have heard the term box keys, where there's keys that are already in an envelope for your apartment up at the front desk, and that people can come and grab those for your apartment. Those are going to eventually go away by mid-month, because that's not really a strong way for us to control access, because we want to encode a key with your name or the card carrier's name right on the key. So those will be going away. And I'm also working with residents that have private caregivers. So the number of you have received a phone call from me recently about talking about an access to your apartment. If you have a private caregiver, that you fill out a form and sign that you're allowing them to have card key access to your apartment, or conversely, you'll get up and answer the door when they come to provide that service for you. So most of you have received a memo from me. I have a few more to get a hold of, and that'll be a change that we're doing as well. So there may be a time where you may forget your card key in your apartment. In the past, you may come down to the reception center and say, I would like my box key to get into my apartment. The change is that we have these new keys that are temporary keys, and there's an image of one on the screen. Instead of having a green color on the key, it's red and it says temporary. And the reception staff will, what we call is encode the key to allow you to get into your apartment. That key will only work for about 30 minutes, and then the key is no longer usable on any door. And then at your convenience, you just bring that key back down, and then we can reissue the key to somebody. So that's a change that we'll be doing. And I talked a little bit about it last month. I'm talking about it again today, and that will be going into effect in mid-August. The other thing that I wanted to touch base on is, part of the region, especially across the United States, the heat that is being experienced across North America is very, very bad. For us, we had an incident 3 days, several weeks ago, where we hit triple digits, and it was excessive heat. And yesterday and today we're supposed to be, like today might hit the 90s. And so for some of us, that could be considered excessive heat. It's pretty hot. So the reminders of going outdoors to, avoid the direct sunlight, be in the shade. If you're having certain activities that you need to do, think about doing it at the cooler part of the day. Use sunscreen. I try to remember to put the lotion on the top of the head so that I don't get sunburned. And so these are the reminders that we always have that when we're out in the sun. So on the next slide, one of the things that we had a number of things that we wanted you to consider as part of in the apartment is that we want you to stay cool and stay hydrated. And so what we did is talk to you about, keeping fluids going. And so we have the first bullet is spend more time in air-conditioned places indoors. And so if it gets really hot, this room, for an example, we can have set up as a place for people to be. The common areas all are conditioned air. And so you can come down to any of these areas if your apartment seems to be feeling like it's too warm and you want to come in from outdoors. We want to have you keep the windows closed. During the last heat wave that we had our engineering team go around and make sure that, especially in assisted living, all those windows were closed. And if we see a window open, that we reminded folks. So our engineering team was actually doing visuals, on windows to make sure that they were closed. We want to make sure that as a reminder that when that direct sun comes, that you keep your blinds closed. And we do that in the common area, that we keep the blinds closed so that we don't have that direct sun coming in. And lastly, talking about drinking plenty of water. And so make sure that you keep the fluids going. There's a water station over by the coffee bar for you. And Jeff and his team will be setting up today, if not already, a hydration station for you near the hostess desk so that you can stay hydrated. So take these steps to keep yourself safe, keep an eye on each other. This excessive heat, unfortunately, is something that is not going to go away for us. We think that we're going to continue to have these kind of events that happen. Another reminder is I'm working with the Freeway Park Association, and tonight there will be an online concert screening down at Seneca Plaza if you feel like you want to go down there and enjoy some music. And it should be a wonderful experience. Freeway Park has a number of things going on now with their concierge, the bookmobiles, and other activities that they're excited to be able to get the park, which is right in our back door, an amenity for us, up and running. So very exciting that is getting some more activity going on. And then exciting news for us is those that have been around here, the First Hill Farmers Market is back, which is very exciting for us. The last several years it had been closing the street. However, because of Virginia Mason needing some of that area for their COVID activity, it will now be on their Lindeman Plaza. And so if you just go out the front door, go across the street on the sidewalk and go up and around the corner, you'll be able to find the market that'll be there. So we're very excited for that to start for us next Friday. And it'll go through September 24th. They may extend it if the activity levels are high enough, and the vendors are excited to see you, and we're hoping you can make it out there every Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, I have Charlene and Ruth Ann. Charlene, you coming up?
Good morning. I am Charlene Hutchinson from the philanthropy team, and I'm happy to be here today to share where we are with our Partners in Caring campaign, as well as a little recap of our ice cream social. So our last, my last gathering with residents was at the ice cream social, and it was very successful. It was a great time. How many people are here today was at the ice cream social? Fantastic. Well, in a minute, I'm going to share with you where we are with the campaign. But first, I want to go over some of the pictures. here we are gathering on the Parkview Terrace, a bunch similar to this. And we had music by the Bonnie Birch Band, friends gathering outside, happy faces, families gathering, more gathering on the inside of the Parkview Lounge, more friends, residents having a bubble bath, and lots of laughter. I asked John what it was that he said to the folks across from him, and he said they were just overjoyed to be able to be back together. So it was a great event. And now a business part of it, I want to share where we are with the annual campaign. We have today received $325,000. We are just a touch away from reaching our goal of $375,000. Resident participation is at 75%. And again, we are a touch away from being at our best year ever of 86%. Our endowment activity is also fantastic. We received $132 cash gifts, bursting our goal of $80,000. Estate gifts, those are 4 residents that have come forward this year to let us know that they have included Horizon House in their will or have named Horizon House beneficiary on their IRA account or on another retirement account. And so far, fulfilled gifts, which are the realized estate gifts, we've received $434,000 just this year. So all of these gifts are very important to keep the endowment alive and growing and a benefit to us for years to come. Now I'm going to introduce Ruth Ann, who's going to give you some information on our GEM grants.
Thank you, Charlene. Hello, everybody. My name's Ruth Ann. I work with Charlene, and I just want to give a quick update on the GEM grants and the upcoming deadlines. GEM grants are written by residents and staff to benefit projects that benefit residents and staff. The next deadline to submit your application is September 10th, and you can find applications on HH Connect outside of our office, or I'm happy to email you a copy. The application is very simple. It's only 2 to 3 pages. We're having a GEM, a drop-in workshop on August 23rd, and check the alert for details. That's an opportunity to talk about your project and see if it's a good fit for the GEM grant program. And we really want your application to be successful, and so I can help you out in writing a successful application. There is $25,000 available for each GEM grant cycle. So we have 2 cycles, of spring and fall. So we really want lots of applications, and we really like creative ideas. I want to thank our GEM grant committee. All residents review the GEM grants, and that is Les Cox, Margaret King, Carol Ottenberg, Margie Purdue, and Joan Ziegler. And I just want to give a little plug for a GEM grant project that will be happening at the end of August. Our in-house professional dancer, Brian Carr, wrote a GEM grant for something really special. He choreographed a piece that will be shown in the C&D terraces, so check the alert for that. And I will introduce Ann Kelly now from the Art Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. First slide, please. It's almost time for the annual art fair. This year it will feature photography and will be held on Friday, September 17th from 10 in the morning until 5 p.m. The committee is busy planning the exhibition, and the photographs will be displayed, including a variety of subjects from portraiture to landscape and everything in between. These are photographs that have been taken by the Horizon House residents or staff. There's still time to enter your creative photographs, so if you're interested, pick up an entry form in the mailroom and submit them. I think the closing is the 25th of August. The fair is organized under the capable leadership of Marianne Counts and her committee, and you see them listed here at the bottom of this slide. And the next slide, please. Don't miss it. Friday, September 17th, 10 to 5 in Anderson Hall. Come with your colleagues and enjoy. Thank you. And next up is Valerie.
Thank you, Ann. It's so good to see live smiling faces. Christian and I really appreciate the trust that you put in us and all of your referrals. Our ongoing surveys with our future residents support what we've always known, that you are 75+% of who comes to us looking at Horizon House as their home. So we are very grateful for that. We're averaging about 4 apartments per month being committed to. So as we're seeing this increase in new residents being introduced, we've also moved in almost as many residents just year to date as we typically do in an average year. So we're trying to make up for some of that lost time during COVID when understandably people were putting off the move. So thank you, and my pleasure to introduce some of our newest residents. First, we have George and Mary Kraft. Wait. George was born in Columbus, Ohio. He earned his MD and MS and is a University of Washington faculty member. George is a member of the Emmanuel Episcopal Church and was a Navy Lieutenant Commander. Thank you for your service, George. Mary was born in California and grew up in Pasadena. She attended UC Berkeley and Cal State Los Angeles, earning a BS in nursing. Mary was a registered nurse in both San Francisco and Bellevue. She is a member of the Women's University Club and the Rotary Club of Mercer Island. Welcome, George and Mary. I had the pleasure of meeting their kids on their first visit to Horizon House yesterday. Marsha Wallace, and I don't think Marsha, oh, hi Marsha. Marsha was born in Tacoma and has lived all over Washington State. She also worked as a registered nurse and educator with certifications in early childhood and geriatric mental health. Marsha loves to learn and describes herself as both a bookaholic and social creature. Welcome, Marsha. Molly Holmes. Molly was unable to join us today, but is anxious to meet her new neighbors and wanted to be introduced in her absence. She was born and raised in Washington. She earned her BA in Liberal Arts from Central Washington University and her 5th-year education at St. Martin's. Molly taught public school for 23 years, specializing in special education. She belonged to the School Directors Association and was a publication editor for 8 years. Molly enjoys watching good movies, knitting, and ukulele strumming. Welcome, Molly, in your absence. Ann Irish. Ann was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and moved to Horizon House from Vashon Island, where she returns each Friday to volunteer as a docent, so also unable to join us today. Ann attended Radcliffe College and earned her PhD from the University of Washington. Ann is a member of the ACLU, Habitat for Humanity, AFSC, Southern Poverty Law Center, and Mercy Corps. She enjoys playing instruments like the koto, which I looked up and is a Japanese instrument, piano and harp, and as a hobby collects postcards. And fun fact, Ann is the sister of resident Mary Mullen. Are you, Mary? Thank you for the referral. And Karen Byrne. Karen's here today. Karen was born in East Orange, New Jersey. She earned her BA in psychology from Antioch College and master's in education with a focus on severe, profound disabilities from the University of Washington. She is a retired special education teacher from the Seattle and Renton school districts, where she taught students with both cognitive and physical disabilities, with most of her career spent at the secondary level as a transition teacher. Welcome, Karen. Another amazing group of new residents. Welcome. And next up, Brenda to introduce new residents and transfers.
Thank you, Valerie, and welcome to the new residents. I hadn't realized that we were recruiting residents that can also work in our nursing team, so thank you, Valerie. Before I actually jump into introducing the new hires that we welcomed, I actually just wanted to comment on some of the themes that have been coming up related to staffing and the relationship between the staff and the residents. We have heard from our staff members that the relationship and how they're treated by the residents is so meaningful to them. While they may have other opportunities in other communities and in other positions, one of the things that keeps them here is how that they are recognized. They really feel that they are cared for as true human beings, whereas in other environments, they don't receive that. So it goes a long way. As much as we rely on resident referrals, we also do the same for our staff members. Our staff members are also a referral source for new hires coming in. So thank you again for making our staff feel welcomed into our environment. For those of you who have been here for prior in-person Fireside Chats, usually we have our new hires standing here so we can actually see them in the human form. We transitioned how we schedule our new hire orientations. Before, we would coordinate everyone into one meeting, but because of COVID, we're doing individual orientations. So they're not here physically, but we do have photos for you. So we encourage you to say hello if you do see staff, new staff, as well as existing staff in the hallways. Next slide. So we have Fatuma, who's joined us in our EPS department as a housekeeper. We've also welcomed Christy as a diet aide. Galen is our new Life Enrichment Associate, and Alan Garcia is our new engineer in the Facilities Department. Esperanza is our new staff member in the Dining Services team, as well as Savannah. And Russell as well, so he's also joined us in Dining Services. We are also trying to share more in Fireside Chat of movements of staff across different departments, whether it's a transfer where staff are able to develop new skills, as well as promotions. And so we have one for the month of July. And that is Fong. Fong has worked actually as a diet aide with Morrison for about 4.5 years. He is now also working as a Life Enrichment Associate. Fong is actually splitting the time between both positions, so we're really excited for that transition. Next up, I'll turn it back over to Mike.
I will hobble up.
You want my walker?
Yeah, I may be talking to you later about that, Lori. Well, lots of good information to be shared today, and I want to, you see the theme about staffing and so on, and I think that as Brenda was mentioning, the idea of being able to help people have other skill sets by joining other departments, we want to do as much of that as we can, and in general, just simply be more important to our staff so that even if we're not going to have maybe the 30-year employees that we've had the luxury of having in the past, that we can have our staff have a very meaningful slice of the time that they are here. And so we are going to be making a much more of an investment in that, and hopefully that will make some difference. When I was in the ER yesterday, in the alley, because all the rooms were filled up with people with other more serious injuries, I overheard the nurses talking about, not at Virginia Mason, but at their significant others' workplaces, and how that, quote, America does such a bad job in the companies taking care of their employees and really feeling like they're a part of it. And even though we have our challenges, I think we do take care of our employees. You take care of them, and we really are in this together, and we're going to continue to be in it together. So I don't think we fall in the category of some of those companies that these young nurses were describing, and I sure as heck would never want us to ever be in that situation. So we'll make more progress, and we'll hopefully have staff that continue to feel like this is a great opportunity. I want to just touch on what Lori was saying about the satisfaction survey. we do take it very seriously, and maybe sometimes you'll see a score that, if you recall in the past, doesn't look all that different. Well, it's not that we put this on the shelf and ignore it. We care deeply about it. We will be having our small group sessions coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be focusing on that and unpacking what it is that is working and what is not working. And we're good with criticism, and we're good with things that are of concern, because our job is to try to figure out how to fix that, how to get better at it. And the one that, there's many that jump off the page, and food will always be a problem. Doesn't mean we don't work on it. It means that there will always be controversy. But the one that kind of caught me off guard is Horizon House of Value. And I think, wow, okay, that means either we charge too much or people don't perceive they get enough for what it is that they pay. And that's what I want to really unpack, because that would not be something in comparison to our peers that I would think would be on that list. And so it will be important for us to understand what are the issues behind that we might be missing that would cause people to say they didn't think this was a high value. Because I think otherwise, but then I'm not the consumer either. So it's what you think that matters and what we can do to make sure that's something that gets better. Okay, let's see here. We are on to scaffolding crane update. Boy, as you know, we have tried to get this crane in place, and for whatever reason, the city doesn't want us to do it like we want to do it. So it's been back and forth, but now it was originally scheduled for the 17th. Now it's being postponed. It's all about permitting and getting permission to do what we need to do. One of the contractors did not fill out the form properly, and therefore got bounced, and then it goes into a 3-week delay, and that's what causes that. You'll see the scaffolding will still remain in place. We don't want anyone to bump into that. Pay attention when you're walking down the street there, and we'll get information back to you as soon as we know what the exact schedule is for the crane work that is to repair the work up top. As I mentioned, in August, it doesn't have the date here, Tuesday and Thursday of next week. No, it's a couple of weeks out.
Sorry, 10th and 12th.
Pardon me? 10th and 12th. Sign up for those small group sessions. Your voice is really important. We haven't had the benefit of being in the room for discussion, and I think that's very different than having them online with Zoom, where we can really get into a dialogue about things that are of concern. So sign up with Beth so that we're able to get you in the room and have good conversation, and hopefully that'll be our trend going forward. And certainly, we want your topics for Fireside Chats in the future, and if there are things that are of importance, please chime in and let us get it on the schedule so that we can include what you want to hear about what's going on here, or issues or things you want us to dive into more. Certainly, there are a few bright spots. 4th of July was an awesome party. We've been so fortunate to be able to have some fun activities outdoors. And 4th of July was certainly one of them. It was a great party. Food service does a great job putting things on and managing that, along with others. Bastille Day, of course, you heard that from Jeff, and again, awesome turnout. People were totally engaged with that, and there was good food. So we'll keep doing as many of those as we can. And of course, the resident picnic was terrific. I was able to attend that, and a lot of people were having fun. It was, the space fills up in terms of what we try to get done on those deck levels, but people were there, and they're talking, and people are smiling, people are engaging, and we're having some fun food. And Ruth Eller and her team did a great job pulling that together, and I want to thank her for that effort. Okay, the next Fireside Chat will be September 24th. We'll skip the August one, as is kind of our tradition. So we'll be back in September, prepared hopefully with even a more full crowd and people feeling like they're ready to commune with their friends. So questions, things that you might have that we can answer here? Not all at once, please, one at a time. Don't crowd the mic. Well, you should know that you are always welcome to ask questions of me or Lori or Laura or whoever one of our team members are to answer them out of this meeting. So please come and ask the questions that are on your mind. We want to make sure that we are as open and transparent as what we can. I knew I could get somebody. Olga?
Who are the team members? I mean, who?
Sure. So Laura Tufts is the marketing and communications person. She works with Valerie and Christian in the sales of apartments, as well as the communication and the marketing function, which is a different function. Brian Levitt, as you know, is our IT director. So he is responsible for the IT of the organization. Brian Holtz of operations. Eli Lemansky, everybody knows Eli, loves Eli. He's responsible for renovations and all the building that goes on. He's the one that coordinates with all of our contractors. Christy Seymour is our CFO, and she's the one who keeps track of all the numbers and does a great job at that. Lori, of course, is our Chief Operating Officer, and she is the one who's schooled in all of the operations and most notably on healthcare-related issues. Let's see. Brenda, our Director of Human Resources. You probably haven't seen as much of Brenda. You'll see more of Brenda as we engage more and more with our staff and make sure that those relationships are solid. Let's see. Charles in the assisted living. Charles Williams is our Director of Nursing in assisted living and the one who is coordinating and making sure everything is working as it should there. Those are the key people. And then I play a role in some of that too. Does that answer your question, Olga?
Well,
No.
yes.
Lori.
Yeah, it's Lori.
Okay. Lori, no, if I could read your eyes. You made it go away.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else with questions that we can answer here? Okay, well, we look forward to seeing more of you in person. Thanks so much.